Before we begin, a quick but important note. This episode contains discussions of suicide, which may be distressing for some listeners. Please be aware of your own well-being. If you or someone you know is struggling, please know that help is available. Reach out to friends, family, or professionals. You are not alone. In the United States, you can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 for free, confidential support 24/7. Please take care while listening. Listener discretion is advised. Remember, it's okay to pause or stop if you need to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. If you haven't already done so, please make sure the volume of this podcast is set perfectly to your listening enjoyment. Please take your seat, whether that's on the treadmill, car, sofa, or bed, and buckle in for the last trip. My name is Jamie Beebe, and I'll be your tour guide, recreating someone's last days in paradise. On behalf of myself and everyone behind the scenes, please enjoy the Last Trip podcast. And because nobody likes a long flight to get to where they want to be, let's prepare for takeoff. It's Friday, April 15th, 2005. A man takes a day off work, grabs his keys, and sets off on a short road trip. Just to drive to clear his head, stop for lunch, check out his favorite antique stores. Nothing out of the ordinary. But he never comes home. His car is found abandoned miles away, his wallet and phone missing, his laptop tossed into a river, its hard drive deliberately destroyed. And then, nothing. No trace of him, no body, just questions. Ray Gricar was a seasoned district attorney, a man who had put criminals behind bars for decades. So how does someone like him vanish without a trace? Did he walk away from his life? Was he silenced? Or did he know something so dangerous it cost him everything? Today on The Last Trip, we're digging into the baffling disappearance of Ray Gricar, the DA who went out for a drive and was never seen again. Ray Gricar took the day off work for a nice drive on a spring day and ended up in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, about 45 miles from home. Lewisburg is one of those picture-perfect small towns that feels like stepping into a storybook, especially on a leisurely spring road trip. Nestled along the Susquehanna River, it's got that old-world charm that makes you want to park the car, stretch your legs, and explore. With tree-lined streets, well-preserved 19th century architecture, and a downtown that feels like a step back in time, Lewisburg is an ideal place to take a break, grab a coffee, and lose yourself in a little antiquing, which is exactly what Ray was doing. For those who love the thrill of the hunt, Lewisburg's antique scene is a goldmine. The Roller Mills Antique Center is a must-visit, an enormous multi-level market housed in a historic feed mill. Inside, time seems to slow as you weave through rows of wooden shelves packed with vintage jewelry, rare books, forgotten photographs, and odd relics from bygone eras. Some say the place even has a ghost or two, lingering among the treasures of the past. Just down the road, the Lewisburg Antique and Consignment Mall offers a mix of Victorian furniture, rustic farmhouse decor, and eerie curiosities. Old dolls with cracked porcelain faces, oil paintings where the subjects seem to follow you with their eyes, and faded letters written in looping script from decades past. If you're looking for something truly one of a kind, this town is a collector's paradise. Despite its quaint charm, Lewisburg harbors an air of mystery, one that deepens when you consider its unsettling connections to the unexplained. The most famous site is the Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary, a high-security prison that looms over the town like a silent watchman. Over the years, it has housed some of America's most dangerous criminals. Mob bosses, murderers, even Charles Manson himself for a brief time. The mere presence of the prison lends an eerie undercurrent to Lewisburg's otherwise peaceful streets. It makes you wonder, how many whispered confessions and dark secrets have passed through its walls? And then there's the Susquehanna River, the ever-moving, ever-consuming body of water that cuts through town. It was near these waters that Ray Gricar's car was found, his laptop later discovered in the depths of the river, as if someone had wanted to erase whatever secrets it might have held. Did he stand on the banks looking out over the churning current before stepping in? Or was he taken, his disappearance orchestrated by unseen hands? Lewisburg has its share of ghost stories, the kind that make you glance over your shoulder when the streetlights flicker at dusk. The Campus Theater, an Art Deco movie palace, is said to be haunted by the spirit of a former projectionist. Staff have reported hearing footsteps echoing in empty halls and seeing shadowy figures flit across the aisles long after the credits have rolled. Then there's the Lewisburg Cemetery, where time-worn tombstones stand crookedly in the earth, their inscriptions fading like memories. Visitors claim to hear whispers when the wind picks up, and some have even spotted a mysterious woman in white, drifting beneath the graves before vanishing into the night. For those who crave a touch of the paranormal, ghost tours of Lewisburg lead brave souls through the town's most haunted locations, recounting tales of spectral sightings, unsolved mysteries, and strange happenings that defy explanation. Lewisburg is the kind of place that lingers in your mind long after you've left. It's a town where history and mystery intertwine, where antique stores hold forgotten relics, and where the Susquehanna flows steadily, carrying secrets downstream. If you're passing through on a road trip, take the time to stop, stroll through the historic district, explore the antique shops, and sip a coffee at one of the cozy cafes. But as you wander the streets, remember that Lewisburg is more than just a charming small town. It's also the last known location of a man who seemingly vanished into thin air. Because as you take in the quaint charm and eerie undertones of Lewisburg, it's impossible to ignore the town's dark connections to one of its most puzzling mysteries, the disappearance of Ray Gricar. Lewisburg becomes the backdrop for a case that remains unsolved to this day. And to understand the mystery of Ray's disappearance, we first need to take a closer look at the man himself.
Picture this. You're standing at the peak of a mountain, watching the sunrise paint the world in shades of gold. That feeling? Pure magic. The kind that makes every grueling step worth it. But what happens when that adventure takes a turn for the worse? When the trail isn't what you expected, and the great outdoors shows just how wild it can be. That's where Tragedy with a View comes in. I'm your host, Kayla, and in this podcast, I tell the stories of adventures gone wrong in some of the most beautiful and unpredictable places on Earth. From natural disasters that catch even the most seasoned explorers off guard, to true crime trails that unfold where tranquility meets terror. We dive into these close calls with disaster that remind us just how small we really are. But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. Every story comes with a perspective, a chance to reflect on the fragility and wonder of life. After all, what is life without close calls with disaster? So if you're the kind of person who loves a good adventure and doesn't shy away from a little chaos along the way, tune in to Tragedy with a View. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Grab your hiking boots, your sense of wonder, and maybe a little caution, and join me as we explore the untamed beauty of the world, one story at a time.
Some people seem untouchable. They're strong, determined, fearless, the kind of people who bring criminals to justice, who spend their lives making the world safer. Ray Gricar was one of those people. As Center County, Pennsylvania's longtime district attorney, he was respected, relentless, and often the smartest man in the courtroom. He built cases piece by piece, obsessing over the details, knowing that one mistake could let a guilty man walk free. His work put murderers behind bars, gave voices to victims, and shaped the justice system in central Pennsylvania for decades. But for all his sharp instincts, for all his years of methodically breaking down cases, Ray never could have predicted that one day he would become the mystery. Ray Gricar was born on October 9, 1945, in Cleveland, Ohio, a city defined by its working-class grit. He grew up in the Collinwood neighborhood, a place of tight-knit communities and tough resilience. From an early age, Ray was a serious, disciplined student. Not necessarily the loudest in the room, but always one of the most determined. He attended Gilmore Academy, a prestigious Catholic prep school in Gates Mills, where he excelled academically. But it wasn't until college, at the University of Dayton, that he found his true calling. While interning at the prosecutor's office, he watched trials unfold, saw the way evidence could make or break a case, and realized that this was the kind of work he wanted to do. Seeking justice wasn't just a job, it was a responsibility. It was also during this time at Dayton that he met Barbara Gray, the woman who would become his wife. They fell in love quickly, and before graduating, Barbara followed Ray back to Cleveland as he pursued law school at Case Western Reserve University. They married in 1969, settling into their new life together. Ray's early years as a lawyer were intense. He started as a prosecutor in Cuyahoga County, specializing in some of the hardest cases, rape and murder. He was thorough, prepared, and relentless. Defense attorneys braced themselves for his cross-examinations. Assistant prosecutors admired his focus and sought his mentorship. And yet, for all the time he spent in court, few people knew much about Ray outside of work. He was professional, friendly, but kept his personal life carefully separate from his legal battles. What people did know was this: Ray Gricar had an unwavering sense of right and wrong. He was the kind of prosecutor who could sit with grieving parents of a murder victim for hours, listening, absorbing their pain. And then, the next morning, he would stand in a courtroom and make sure no one forgot their child's name. In 1978, Ray and Barbara adopted a baby girl, Lara. It was one of the happiest moments of their lives. And when Barbara's career led them to Pennsylvania in 1980, Ray made an unexpected choice. He stepped away from the legal world to become a stay-at-home father. But law wasn't something he could leave behind for long. When the Center County District Attorney David E. Grine offered Ray an assistant DA position, he accepted. And within a few years, he was running for the top job himself. In 1985, he won the election for district attorney by just 600 votes. It was a narrow victory, but one that solidified his place as a rising legal powerhouse. Ray ran the DA's office with precision. He didn't just prosecute cases, he built them, layer by layer, making sure there were no holes. He was reelected 4 times, 1989, 1993, 1997, and 2001. The office was originally part-time, but Ray pushed to make it a full-time job in 1996. A testament to his belief that justice wasn't something to be handled in someone's spare time. Some of his high-profile cases were complex and chilling. In 1993, a 17-year-old runaway named Dawn Marie Birnbaum was found in a snowbank off Interstate 80. Her killer, a cross-country trucker, had almost slipped through the cracks, but Ray connected the dots. DNA evidence, tire tracks, gas receipts. It was an intricate puzzle. But Ray never gave up. And yet, despite his reputation as an aggressive prosecutor, his personal life was more complicated. He and Barbara divorced in 1991. He remarried in 1996, but that marriage ended in 2001. And by the early 2000s, he had settled into a quiet life with his girlfriend, Patty Fornicola. They lived together in her childhood home in Belafonte, a seemingly beautiful existence as Ray neared retirement. But there was darkness in his past. In 1996, Ray's older brother, Roy, disappeared from his home in Westchester, Ohio. He had just retired, told his wife he was going to buy mulch, and never returned. Days later, his car was found abandoned near a river. A week after that, his body was pulled from the water. His death was ruled a suicide. He was 53 years old. It was a tragedy Ray never spoke much about. Then, in 1998, he made a controversial decision. He declined to prosecute Penn State assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky after allegations of child sexual abuse surfaced. 13 years later, Sandusky would be convicted of multiple counts of sexual abuse. To this day, Ray's role in that decision remains a subject of speculation. In 2004, Ray announced he would not seek re-election and would retire from law altogether by the end of 2005, shortly before his 60th birthday. After years of high-stakes trials, he was ready to walk away. But instead, in April 2005, he took a short road trip and vanished. A man who had built his career solving cases had left behind a mystery that no one could solve. Did Ray Gricar disappear willingly? Was he targeted? Or did something from his past finally catch up to him? The answers are out there, but no one has found them yet. It was one of those perfect spring days, April 15th, 2005, the kind of day that makes you want to roll down the windows, let the warm breeze in, and escape for a while. So Ray Gricar did just that. He had taken the day off from work, but this wasn't unusual for him nearing retirement. Ray was known to take short, unannounced road trips, small escapes from the pressures of his job. A day to himself, away from the courthouse, away from the case files, away from everything. At 11:30 a.m., he called his longtime girlfriend, Patty Fornicola. His voice was relaxed. He told her he was driving through the Brush Valley area, following Route 192 toward Lewisburg. He was in a small town about 45 miles from home. Ray mentioned he wouldn't be back in time to feed and walk their dog, Honey. It was a casual detail, but in hindsight, it was significant, because it was the last time anyone ever heard from him. Before hanging up, they exchanged a simple, familiar goodbye, saying a quick, "I love you." When Patty returned home that evening, Ray was nowhere to be found. There was no note, no message. And she tried not to panic. Maybe he got caught up somewhere, lost track of time. She went to the gym, hoping that by the time she got home, he'd be back. But the hours passed, and there was still no sign of him. By 11:30 p.m., unease had turned to full-blown panic. She called the police and reported him missing. By the next morning, a search was underway. Police scoured the roads between Belafonte and Lewisburg, worried that Ray, driving along those winding two-lane highways, had gotten into an accident. Maybe he was injured, stranded somewhere, waiting for help. Another possibility lingered in the back of their minds. Ray had a reputation outside the courtroom, one of easy charm with women. Had he met someone in Lewisburg? Was he simply spending the night with her, unaware of the growing concern back home? Investigators even considered a more innocent explanation. Perhaps Ray had taken off spontaneously to see a Cleveland Indians game, something he had done on a whim before. But after checking with Ohio authorities, they found no sign of his car near the stadium. By Saturday afternoon, all those theories crumbled. Ray's red Mini Cooper was found abandoned in the parking lot of an antique store in Lewisburg, a short walk from the Susquehanna River. Inside, police found his county-issued cell phone, powered off, but his laptop, wallet, and car keys were missing. Several witnesses claimed they saw Ray inside the antique market. Some said he was casually browsing, appearing calm, unhurried. Others recalled him chatting with a tall, brown-haired woman. Another reported seeing him sitting inside his car, rubbing his face, talking on the phone. Yet, Ray's phone had been found inside the Mini Cooper turned off. Police processed Ray's car, looking for signs of a struggle or anything to indicate what had happened. There were no scuff marks, no blood, no sign of forced entry. But there was something strange, something that didn't belong: cigarette ash. It was scattered across the passenger side floor mat, the faint smell of smoke lingering in the car's interior. But Ray hated cigarettes. He didn't smoke and avoided people who did. Yet someone had either been inside his car smoking or leaned into the vehicle while holding a cigarette. Who would have smoked in Ray's car? A friend, a stranger, or someone more sinister? When search dogs were brought in, their reaction was unsettling. The dogs indicated that Ray may have left the area in another vehicle. But who had picked him up? Where had they taken him? And did he go willingly? The location of Ray's abandoned car sent a shiver down the spines of those who knew him, because this wasn't the first time something like this had happened in the Gricar family. 9 years earlier, in 1996, Ray's older brother Roy had vanished in eerily similar circumstances. He told his wife he was going to run an errand and never came back. His car was later found abandoned near a bridge over the Great Miami River in Ohio. Later, his body was pulled from the water. Suicide. Now, Ray's car was found next to a bridge, near a river. A tragic coincidence? Or something more? Authorities found no immediate signs of foul play. There were no recent threats against Ray, and no specific case that stood out as a potential motive for his disappearance. Health-wise, nothing seemed alarming at first, but those close to him had noticed a change. Ray had been unusually fatigued in the months leading up to his disappearance. With retirement just 9 months away, he had started taking naps after work and even during lunch breaks. Patty had been concerned enough to suggest he see a doctor. Investigators searched the Susquehanna River, scouring the water for any sign of Ray. They searched by boat, by helicopter, and on foot, but they found nothing. Ray Gricar had vanished without a trace. Months passed, with no sign of Ray. Then, on July 30th, 2005, a fisherman made a startling discovery. Lodged beneath a bridge between Lewisburg and Milton was a laptop. Not just any laptop. It was Ray's county-issued computer. But the hard drive was missing. Investigators immediately sent divers into the water, hoping to recover the missing piece. And they searched for days. Nothing. Then, 2 months later, another discovery. A hard drive washed up on the banks of the Susquehanna River, about 100 yards from where the laptop had been found. It was badly damaged, corroded. The FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, and the data recovery from Kroll on Track all tried to extract its contents, but none of them could recover a single file. Whatever was on that hard drive, whatever information Ray had stored, was gone. And then came a revelation that made everything even stranger. 4 years after Ray disappeared, in April 2009, police revealed something new. Someone had used the home computer Ray shared with Patty to perform a series of internet searches before his disappearance. The searches? How to wreck a hard drive, how to fry a hard drive, and water damage to a notebook computer. It was a chilling find. Did Ray search for this himself? Was he planning to destroy his own data? Or had someone else, someone close to him, looked up how to erase his digital footprint? Could this mean Ray planned his disappearance? If Ray had run away, why destroy the hard drive? If he was murdered, why not leave the laptop intact? The questions only deepened the mystery. Pennsylvania authorities asked the FBI to analyze Ray's bank accounts, credit card records, and cell phone records, but found no clues there either. Desperate for answers, investigators even turned to a psychic. Some of her predictions were vague, but she said she saw Ray entering the courthouse. Something possible but unlikely. One detail stood out. She described a construction worker, a man leaning into Ray's car, smoking a cigarette. She told them this before it was publicly known that cigarette ash had been found in Ray's Mini Cooper. So was it just coincidence, or had she seen something real? By 2011, with no trace of Ray, his daughter Laura petitioned the court to have him declared legally dead. His family recognized that given the amount of time, Ray was likely deceased, and they were ready to move on and tie up his affairs. Pennsylvania law allows for the presumption of death of a missing person after 7 years of unexplained absence. The judge can declare a missing person dead in advance of those 7 years if there's a substantial amount of facts and circumstances. So the judge granted the request, citing the exhaustive investigation and the lack of any financial or personal activity from Ray since his disappearance. They took into account that Ray was a devoted father who would not have walked away from his daughter, his family, or his responsibilities. Yet even as the case seemed to close, bizarre twists continued. In June 2011, police in Utah arrested a man on a misdemeanor charge, and he refused to give his real name. He looked like Ray. Same height, same weight, even similar wrinkles. Could it be him? The story made headlines. But after comparing fingerprints, authorities confirmed the truth. It wasn't Ray Gricar. He was still missing and now declared legally dead. But after nearly 2 decades, the question still lingers. What happened to Ray Gricar? Did he run away? Was he the victim of a crime? Did he take his own life, mirroring his brother's fate? Or did someone silence him forever? His body has never been found. His case remains open. But there are a few theories we can cover. So what really happened to Ray Gricar? Over the years, 3 main theories have emerged, each as unsettling as the last. The first and most widely accepted theory is suicide. Police investigating the case believed this was the most likely explanation, pointing to the eerie parallels between Ray's disappearance and that of his older brother Roy, who had taken his life years earlier. Did Ray climb over the steel guardrail of the bridge, stepping off into the dark waters of the Susquehanna, knowing its relentless current would carry his body away forever? Well, it's possible, but his loved ones never believed it. Ray had no history of depression, no known struggles with mental health, and most importantly, he was excited about the future. Retirement was just 9 months away. He and Patty celebrated often. On Friday nights over dinner and drinks, they'd count down the days, toasting to the adventures that lay ahead. More time with his daughter, long drives to Vermont to watch the leaves change, and scouring antique shops for rare treasures. And here's something important. Ray never believed his brother had died by suicide. He was convinced Roy would never willingly abandon his 2 sons. In fact, every time Ray returned home, he'd stop by the police station to check if there were any new leads in Roy's case. It haunted him. So would Ray choose to leave his own daughter behind the same way? Another prosecutor, a friend of Ray's, also doubted the suicide theory. People who take their own lives, he argued, usually want their bodies to be found. They want to leave a statement, an explanation, or at the very least, allow their loved ones closure. If Ray planned to end his life, there were far simpler ways to do it. Instead, he vanished into thin air. And yet, if he did enter the Susquehanna, whether by choice or by force, it's entirely possible his body would never be recovered. The river was high that day, the current swift. If he was carried downstream, he would have hit the Sunbury Inflatable Firework Dam, a barrier known for its ability to churn up and destroy whatever gets caught in it. And even if he somehow made it past that, there were more dams further along, each one capable of erasing a person from existence. Then there's the second theory. foul play. Ray had spent over 3 decades as a prosecutor. He had put criminals behind bars, dismantled drug operations, and angered powerful people. Could he have run into the wrong person that day? Could someone have been waiting for him? Early on, investigators looked into a potential link between Ray's disappearance and the still unsolved death of Jonathan Luna, an assistant U.S. attorney whose body was found in Lancaster County Creek in 2003. Ray had recently been involved in a police operation targeting a heroin ring, and detectives wondered whether his disappearance was an act of revenge. But no clear connections were found. Then there was an even more sinister possibility. What if Ray's decision not to prosecute Jerry Sandusky for child abuse had made him a target? Some speculated that powerful individuals involved in the scandal might have wanted him gone, but no evidence ever surfaced to support that theory. And while authorities scrutinized Ray's family, asking both Patty and his daughter to take polygraphs, which they passed, it was a prison informant who provided the most chilling lead. He claimed Ray had been abducted, murdered, and disposed of as retribution for a case involving the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Was this just another inmate spinning a tale for attention? Or was there truth hidden in his words? Then there's the third theory, one that is both compelling and confounding. Did Ray Gricar walk away from his life, vanishing into the unknown by choice? Some who knew him wondered. Ray had allegedly been fascinated by the case of a Cleveland police chief who had disappeared to start a new life. Had he been inspired? Had the pressure of work, the cases he handled, or even the secrets he kept finally become too much? Witnesses claimed to have seen Ray after he disappeared. A bartender, an off-duty police officer in Wilkes Bar, swore they saw him watching a baseball game at a local bar. Others speculated he might have fled to Europe. Ray was fluent in Slovenian and spoke some Russian. He had family in Slovenia and traveled there before, and with the right resources, could have disappeared into the streets of a foreign city, never to be seen again. Interpol even distributed flyers overseas, hoping for a lead, but none ever came. And then, of course, there were the wilder theories, the kind that belong in spy novels. Did Ray enter witness protection? Had he uncovered something so dangerous that the only way out was to disappear? If so, who was he running from? The mob? A government conspiracy? Some believe he's still out there, alive, hiding in plain sight. Over the years, there have been sightings from Pennsylvania to Texas, even in the audience of an Oprah Winfrey show taping in Chicago. Belafonte police investigated each lead, but nothing ever panned out. And for those left behind, the mystery remains a wound that will never fully heal. 10 years after his disappearance, Patty spoke about Ray publicly, saying, "I don't want folks to forget about Ray. Ray was a wonderful person. I have very wonderful memories of him and need to cherish those." With a bittersweet smile, she added, "I'd be happy if Ray finally walked through the door tomorrow, but I'd kick him in the shins for all the anguish he's put me through." Because whether Ray Gricar was a victim of foul play, succumbed to despair, or chose a new life in the shadows, one truth remains. He left behind more questions than answers. And somewhere, buried deep in the details, the truth is still waiting to be uncovered. After listening to the mysterious case of Ray Gricar, you'll realize he wasn't just your typical road tripper. A district attorney, someone who spent his life working with criminals, prosecuting dangerous individuals, and always keeping an eye out for threats. That's not the kind of person who just disappears without a trace. This leads us to an important topic. Whether you're a professional like Ray or just someone hitting the road for a weekend getaway, safety should always be at the top of your mind. So let's talk about safety. From those working in high-risk fields like law enforcement to the everyday road tripper cruising through the Pennsylvania countryside, know your surroundings. Every meeting, every phone call, every step you take could be with someone dangerous. It's important to always be aware of your surroundings, especially when meeting with someone you don't trust. Whether it's in a courtroom, your office, or out in the field, always have an exit plan. Make sure someone knows where you are and what your schedule looks like. Now, this one might sound like a no-brainer, but it's critical. Always use secure lines of communication when dealing with sensitive information. Encrypt your emails, use VPNs, and make sure your phone is locked down tight. A breach in security could be disastrous, so stay ahead of the game and keep your info safe. Have a personal safety plan. This is something that should never be taken lightly, especially if you're dealing with people who might have a vendetta against you. Always keep someone you trust in the loop. Let them know your movements, who you're meeting, and when you're expected back. If there's ever an unsettling moment, don't hesitate to reach out and let someone know what's going on. You may think you're safe on the road, but it's always a good idea to travel in a group or with a trusted companion, especially if you work with criminals or high-profile cases. If you must travel alone, always let someone know your whereabouts and be sure your phone is fully charged. It's a simple precaution, but it could save you if things go south. If there's one thing we've learned from Ray's case, it's that threats, whether overt or subtle, should never be ignored. If someone you've prosecuted makes a threat, take it seriously. It's not about paranoia, it's about staying smart and prepared. Now let's shift gears. Imagine you, Ray Gricar, taking a drive through the rolling hills of Pennsylvania. It's a warm spring day, the windows are down, the sun is shining, everything feels perfect. But we can learn a lot from Ray's last trip. Whether you're cruising through the countryside or driving solo on a weekend getaway, there are some safety essentials you should never forget. Know where you're going, especially when traveling through rural areas like those near Lewisburg. Before you hit the road, plan your route in advance, let someone know your itinerary, and check in along the way. You may think it's just a scenic drive, but things can change quickly when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Every road tripper needs an emergency kit, especially if you're heading off the beaten path. Pack a flashlight, extra snacks, water, and a portable charger. Make sure your car is in good condition. Tires, brakes, fluid levels, and always bring a spare tire. It's the kind of prep that will turn a stressful situation into a minor inconvenience. Now imagine you've spotted a cute little antique shop. Feels safe, right? But remember, when you're in unfamiliar territory, always stay alert. Lock your car when you leave it and keep your valuables hidden. If something feels off, trust your gut. If you've learned anything from Ray's case, it's that even in seemingly peaceful places, danger can lurk. Ray Gricar's case is full of unanswered questions. And as we continue to dig into the mystery of what happened to him, let's not forget the lessons we can learn from his life and his last trip. Whether you're someone working with criminals or just a traveler on a sunny day drive, stay prepared, aware, and safe. Keep these tips in mind the next time you hit the road. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, you'll never have to face the unknown the way Ray Gricar did. Ray Gricar was last seen on April 15, 2005, near Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. He was dressed in a blue fleece-type jacket, jeans, and sneakers. He was driving a red Mini Cooper with a white top and vanity plates, a car that's just as unique as his life was. Despite all the theories, investigations, and years that have passed, Ray's case remains unsolved. And the passage of time only makes us wonder what clues we might have overlooked, what piece of evidence went unnoticed, what witnesses are still out there that haven't come forward yet. If you have any information about Ray's disappearance, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, please reach out. It's been nearly 2 decades, but every detail counts. Maybe you saw a red Mini Cooper near Lewisburg that day. Maybe you recall something out of the ordinary, a strange encounter, a suspicious person, or a moment that just didn't seem right. It's possible that the missing piece of the puzzle is something as simple as a glance you thought you'd forgotten, but it could be the key to unlocking the truth. Authorities and Ray's family are still looking for answers. If you have any tips or information, no matter how insignificant it might seem, You can contact local law enforcement or the Belafonte Police Department. You can also report anonymously through the local tip line. Ray's family, friends, and the entire community are still hoping for closure, for the day that Ray walks through the door once more, or for the truth to finally come to light. Don't let this case fade into the background. If you know something, say something. Because sometimes the smallest bit of information is all it takes to bring justice and peace. And finally, remember to leave a review and rate this podcast 5 stars if you like the show, or hell, even if you don't. But either way, feel free to let me know what you think. Please follow The Last Trip on Instagram at The Last Trip Crime Pod, and subscribe on Patreon to support the show. You'll get extra research, videos, photos, and updates, and even learn more about my personal travels. That's patreon.com/The Last Trip Podcast. I'm Jamie Beebe, bringing you your last trip and signing off until the next one. Thanks for listening.